Israel takes control of the Rafah crossing in Gaza as a ceasefire deal remains up in the air.
I will continue to fight for my people.
We want to be safe as Jewish and Israeli students on campus.
Right now, UC San Diego is resuming normal operations after pro-Palestinian students were arrested yesterday.
We made it.
Those protesters are out of jail this morning. What happens to them now? It's 6 a.m. on Tuesday, May 7th, and you're up with CBS 8. Breaking news, that is new video of Israel's military taking control of the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing with Egypt. Hospital officials in Gaza say 15 people were killed overnight after Israel's military launched strikes in Rafah.
It happened hours after Hamas said it approved a ceasefire proposal. Now, that calls for 3 stages, each 6 weeks long, for a permanent ceasefire, a swap of hostages held by Hamas for Palestinians in Israeli jails, and to allow displaced Gazans to return home with no restrictions. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the proposal is far from Israel's essential demands. Israel said it would send negotiators to continue talks on a deal, but pressure does continue to mount in Tel Aviv. Protesters there calling on Netanyahu to accept a deal and get the missing hostages back with their loved ones.
Here at home this morning, classes are set to resume at UC San Diego following that intense day of protests on campus. Thanks for joining us at 6 a.m., everyone. I'm Eric Connert.
And I'm Neda Irampur. We watched all of this unfold live here on this newscast just yesterday morning. A pro-Palestinian encampment was cleared, dozens of demonstrators arrested. We have team coverage for you right now. CBS 8's Chris Groh now explaining what happens to those protesters who've just been released from jail.
Well, we begin with CBS 8's Regina Rita live at UC San Diego, where normal operations are resuming as we speak here, Regina.
Yeah, that's correct, Eric and Neda, good morning. We know that this morning actually is much quieter, completely different compared to what we were witnessing yesterday. So hardly any movement at this time. We do know that classes will resume, so we'll probably see students heading to class, but at this time, not so much. I do want to mention, though, yesterday there was a large police presence and a group forming. Take a listen.
We have our First Amendment right to freedom. Let's tell them, let them go.
And these were just several Palestinian supporters protesting around campus. At that point, law enforcement had cleared up the encampment and had even arrested 64 people. 40 of them were students. This upset Palestinian supporters who only wanted to peacefully protest. They were all concerned that police, CHP officers, and even sheriff's deputies all showed up to remove the encampment while wearing riot gear. During the dismantling, the encampment police confiscated wooden stakes, propane tanks, and a sword. So Jewish students tell us it sent the wrong message.
There are groups on campus that have been calling for the genocide against Jews in a grotesque, vile, and anti-Semitic way.
And this morning, protesters who were arrested on campus have been released from jail. But the question remains, what will happen to these protesters after this morning? Well, I know that Chris Groh is actually on campus to discuss a little bit more. So what are the details, Chris?
Good morning. So we don't have a list of official charges yet, and we did try to speak with some of those who were released from the jail just yesterday. Unfortunately, many of them did not want to speak to us. We did have this brief interaction, though. Take a listen.
We made it.
Please do not talk.
Was it worth it?
Do not talk to the media. Do not talk to the media.
That's my short statement. See you.
Yeah, and so, very much, again, being told that they were not going to be speaking to the media. Some of them even trying to block our cameras with umbrellas and cardboard. But all in all, these are the stats, and this is what we know. 64 people arrested from yesterday's encampment. 40 of them students were affiliated with UC San Diego. 24 of them described as unaffiliated or their status unknown at this time. In a statement, the administration said that the arrests were made after protesters were ordered multiple times by law enforcement to disperse. We saw those tense confrontations. Their statement goes on to say that, quote, UC San Diego encourages and allows peaceful protests, but this encampment violated campus policy and the law and grew to pose an unacceptable risk to the safety of the campus community. While we don't know the specific charges that those who are students or those, again, who have been arrested are facing, what we do know is that those who are students are being told that they are going to be facing campus discipline as well, too. Now, taking a look at other protests that have been taking place on other campuses across the U.S. where charges have been published, we understand that many of those protesters, again, different situations, different jurisdictions and such, have been charged with crimes like trespassing or criminal mischief. So we are going to wait to see exactly what type of charges these individuals are facing. We did speak with a defense attorney not linked to the protest or any of these people potentially yet at this time. Here's what they had to say about what these could be, these people could be facing.
A university is for me to go to school, not for you to voice your opinion. You can voice your opinion on a college campus, but not when it inhibits me going to school.
And so again, today marks a very stark difference here. 24 hours later, we are waiting to find out from the university potentially maybe an update on those numbers, or if many of those of the 24 have been identified as being affiliated with the university. Eric and Netta.
This morning, 27 people are in custody after a protest near the Met Gala in New York. Dozens of pro-Palestinian demonstrators marching near the event. This was yesterday. Police stopped them from reaching the museum itself. Stay with CBS 8 for the latest on the Israel-Hamas war and these ongoing protests we're seeing. We also have the latest on our website and our social media pages. Turning to some other news here locally right now, Palomar Health says its services will be limited for patients for the next 2 weeks.
They are now urging patients to refrain from visiting the clinic if you have a non-emergency. That is due to technical difficulties due to, quote, unforeseen circumstances. Their electronic systems are now under maintenance. If you have made an appointment during this time, they ask you to contact them after May 19th to reschedule.
Time right now is 6:08, and looking at our forecast, I mean, the sky's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so clear.
Beautiful. No marine layer
Nice.
yesterday, no marine layer today. So we're warming up really nicely.
Nice.
Conditions are beautiful. We expect that wind is going to pick up across the mountains and deserts. That's going to be kind of the one hindrance of what would otherwise be a perfect day. But the breeze that we see along the coast and inland is not nearly as elevated as what we see for the mountains and deserts. So if you're making travel plans across the mountains, well, factor in some gusty wind conditions. High-profile vehicles should take caution. Factor in the possibility of some blowing dust. But along the coast and inland, it's 10 to 20 miles per hour, so nothing too major. Satellite radar is not doing too bad for us this morning. Upper 60s along the coastline this afternoon, mid 70s inland. Along the coastline, areas like downtown San Diego should make it closer to about 68, 69 degrees, but Del Mar, for example, will be at 66. If you look inland, our eastern valleys should be around 75, 76 degrees, but again, closer to Poway, El Cajon, for example, 74 is going to be popular. Mountains are pushing towards 70, but we'll make it just shy of it at 69, and sunny skies across the deserts at 91 for that afternoon high. A little bit of haze that we're working with. You can see the Sweetwater Reservoir. This is the view facing west from San Miguel. Sunrise was at 5:56, so about 15 minutes ago, and that sunset not coming until 7:35. So when we talk about wind gusts, I talked about how 10 to 20 miles per hour is the trend close to the coast and inland, but take a look at areas like Julian, where those gusts are going to climb upwards of 20 and near 30 miles per hour by the time we get to the evening. Still holding on to mainly a westerly component, but at times these will be southwesterly winds. We'll watch as there's a possibility that tonight into tomorrow we start to see that marine layer redevelop. So there's a chance that we see that happen. That's especially true when we look at this here. Wednesday, for example, partly cloudy conditions. Those clouds usually favor the AM stretch and then break apart by the PM stretch. Friday is going to be the notably warmer day in the forecast, all leading up to a beautiful Mother's Day weekend where things are going to be dry, warm, mild outside. Let's take a look at how traffic is this morning. It's 6:10 right now, and so far your roads are pretty quiet. We are starting to see some congestion mid-span on the Coronado Bridge, so getting into Coronado, you might be slowing down to, say, 20 miles per hour. If you're going northbound on the 805, there's also just a bit of congestion north of 94, but it's not stop and go yet anywhere across our maps here from Chula Vista all the way up through about Del Mar. Let's take a look at border wait times now. 135-minute wait. You are going to be waiting quite a while, over 2 hours, about 2 hours and 15 minutes at the San Ysidro Port of Entry. Otay Mesa Port of Entry is near that same time. 110 minutes, so nearly 2 hours that you'll be waiting at the Otay Mesa port of entry. This is about the slowest that we've seen it in quite a while, so it may take you longer to get across the border there. I'll send things back to you, too.
The cross-border contamination is seeping into schools in the South Bay, and students are speaking out. Their plea to the President of the United States coming up in this Earth 8 report.